Hello and welcome to episode 86 of When the Flames Go Up, the ATFC podcast. This week we're discussing recent results. We haven't been around for a couple of weeks due to Wednesday games. Don't think there's any more coming up, so we should be okay until April. But we have a chance to discuss Scunthorpe, Braintree, and Rochdale results before we have a little look at the Deane and Coleman update that came out on Monday as we record. So, it'd be great to hear your thoughts on that. As always, email the pod, atfcpodcast@gmail.com. Are you hopeful? Are you worried? It'll be interesting to see how people sit on this. I think it's, an overall good that we're hearing more, but what we are hearing is that we are taking on quite a lot of losses at the moment. But all that to follow in this episode. We also have Guy contributing a voice note, and it's myself and Ian on the main pod. Enjoy the episode, and as always, up the shots. So the shots are currently sitting in 13th position, which a few games ago was still, still out of our reach. I think we were down in 19th before the Scunthorpe game, which we won 3-1 and bumped us up to 12th, the heady heights of. And then we went to Braintree in 12th and won there to secure another win in that amazing run that we've had since the beginning of December. And that finally ticked us over to being closer to the playoffs than the relegation zone. And we're reverting back a little bit to type. We are now 9 points off relegation, and let's have a quick look, double check. Yeah, it's looking out of reach. It's 11 points off the playoffs. Halifax in 7th position at the moment. Lots of playoff chat flying around. It was nice for it not to just be the podcast that were, or Julian specifically, talking about playoffs. I was seeing it on Facebook comments. I was seeing it on ShotsWeb. I was seeing people looking at fixtures and seeing when we could potentially get into that fray. So yeah, we're going to discuss the last three games that we've not been able to discuss, and then we'll look ahead to the next couple of games, which are, as we've alluded to for the last few months, incredibly tricky games that we've got coming up. Firstly, we're going to hear from Guy, who's going to give us his rundown of those last three games, and a little bit looking ahead to Forest Green, Carlisle, and York, which is the game after that, which I mean, doesn't even bear thinking about at the moment.
I will. I'm just putting together my thoughts from the last three games and what I think they tell us about where we are. So, starting with Scunthorpe. The first goal really summed up something we've been doing better under Coleman. Gandor got the shot away from the left, the keeper spills it, and Patton is there immediately to follow it up. That instinct to attack second balls has been a real theme recently, and we're getting bodies into the right areas. There was also that outstanding Nightingale tackle when one of their strikers had only him to beat to be one-on-one with the keeper. Perfectly timed. That felt like a defensive moment that kept control of the game. The second goal was a proper counter-attack. Nightingale wins it, moves it quickly to Gandor, then Patton finishes it on the right. It was direct, efficient, and clinical. Boyce's Clark reflex save was sensational after Scunthorpe crossed in and found their man in between both our central defenders. It was genuinely top level, and he followed it up with a save from a low shot minutes later. Peart's third goal came from the right side. At 3-0, it should really have been game over, because Hill's missed penalty after that, after he was bundled in the box. It felt like a bit of a luxury, and therefore it was quite fortunate that it didn't really matter in the end. When Scunthorpe pulled one back early in the second half, I did wonder if they might make a real go of it. Had we been 4 up by then instead of 3, that prospect would never have surfaced. But even then, despite there being no more goals from either side, it never really felt frantic. And I think that's the key difference from the Widrington era. Under Tommy, a goal conceded when it did turns that into chaos. Under Coleman, it stayed controlled. The defence feels structurally more solid, even if not completely flawless. Then Braintree. We pressed from the start and controlled large parts of the game, but didn't take our chances in the first half. That was frustrating. Because we didn't put it away, it was only 1-0 up after 50 minutes, and then 10 minutes later, it's 1-1, and it felt undeserved from Braintree. Our first goal came when Henry's shot deflected off Patton into the net. It was scrappy, but sometimes you need that. Braintree's equaliser was actually a good goal, which made it more frustrating. The winner, Warren's shot taking a deflection, again off Patton, was again not pretty, but what mattered was how it started. Nightingale covering defensively, then pushing it down the left to launch the attack. He's becoming central to both ends of the pitch, in my opinion. We were clearly the better side. It never really looked like we'd lose, but we did risk drawing it because of our looseness in turning pressure into chances and then goals. It had shades of Scunthorpe at 3-0, that sense that missed chances can leave the door slightly open. And then finally Rochdale last weekend. We had 56% possession to their 44%, but it didn't really translate into anything substantial. There are a few clear chances at our end, apart from Kwame's header over the bar. They were organised, compact, and very comfortable sitting behind the ball. Diesso Rouve's 2 goals were both well taken, the second especially, just that half yard of space on the edge of the box and calmly finished past Boyce Clark to his right. That's the difference at the top of the table. They don't need many openings. Patton leaving us is a real loss. He's been adding threat and the constant willingness to follow up. Peart came on for Thomas, who had started in the Rochdale game as Patton had been recalled to Reading by then, but neither quite replicate what Patton gives you. They're different profiles, and you felt their absence. Gandor going off halfway through the second half with his hamstring injury is also a concern. He's worked his way into this Coleman side and has been playing very regularly. Hopefully it's not serious because he's become important to how we play. Frost came on for him, and Shackelford replaced Henry. Shackelford, for me, perhaps isn't as dynamic as Henry, but being younger, he does cover ground and gives you energy. Across these games, the standout figures for me have been Nightingale, Henry, and Gandor before he was injured. It's in Gandor especially because he's been dropping deeper and linking up play. Hill as well has been charging forward and even shifting from right back into the centre against Rochdale when needed. What the 3 games have really showed was the gap between the top and the bottom. Rochdale, even without dominating the ball, gave us almost nothing. Against Braintree, we had 58% possession and looked far more threatening, but still didn't convert enough of it. So possession alone clearly isn't the metric. Now, looking ahead to the games that are coming up, Forest Green, Carlisle and York. All 3 won at the weekend. York are chasing the championship and the others are pushing hard for the playoffs. It's a tough 3-game stretch. You hope that the Rochdale defeat hasn't halted momentum, but realistically, it's going to be hard to pick up points consistently in this run of games that we've got. Forest Green probably feels like the most realistic opportunity. Carlisle did lose to Hartlepool recently, so they're not untouchable, but the odds aren't in our favour. In the Forest Green game, the odds are much clearer towards Forest Green than towards us. And as for York, they're very free scoring, so that will seriously test the defence. It's a defining period, I think. If we come through it with something tangible, that will bring us closer to safety from relegation. If not, it reinforces that we're stabilising, but not quite ready to live with the very top sides in the National League.
And yes, tonight we've got Ian on the podcast. So, Ian, where do we start? We had two brilliant wins. The Scunthorpe at home felt like the start of the bad patch of fixtures that we had coming up in this kind of mad group of 6 or 7 where we play 5 of the top 7. But a very comfortable win there. Should we start there and see where we end up?
Yeah, Scunthorpe at home, that was really enjoyable win, especially that first half, 3-0 up after 33 minutes, and then there was the chance to make it 4-0, which unfortunately Ryan Hill couldn't convert from the spot. But that was a good 45 minutes of seeing from the shots, and I feel like it really carried on the momentum of the win against Yeovil a few days before. Because that one, it was only 2-1 to Aldershot on that night, but it could have been a lot more. And Scunthorpe, similar, 3-1. We had the chances, we really took it to them. And that's the most pleasing win out of all the recent shots wins, the fact that they were, I think, up in 5th position at the time. And this was like, yes, we are a good team. Again, this isn't just us taking advantage of a favourable run of fixtures, we're so much improved. So yeah, that was really good, really satisfying home win. And you really felt that if you'd paid on the day or part of your season ticket, you really got your money's worth with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we had the two Sean Patton goals in the first 16 minutes. The first was a kind of a spill from the goalkeeper that he seized upon. I think it was Hadi Gandor's shot spilled, but Patton was there. I mean, almost begging that the keeper would fumble it, and he did. And then the second one is a lovely kind of flowing move through, and Ryan Hill plays Patton in and finishes so early. He hits it as early as possible, and obviously we'll get on to Mani Diasaruvi's goal, but almost a spitting image with a different foot. I mean, as soon as there's a little chance to get that shot off, he got it off. I didn't think it was going in because as soon as he pulled the trigger, I was like, well, he's too far out, and it's probably not the right option. He had loads of space to run into. But when that nestled in the corner, I thought that was a superb finish. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I
it
guess
did feel
a
with
word on
possibly
Sean Patton.
yeah, I was going to say with the opener and that second pattern one that perhaps, yeah, the keeper will have wanted to have done better with those. That they did, first one particularly did feel like a little bit of a gift, but in terms of the run of play, it was very much well deserved. Just, yeah, slightly soft shot originally that, yeah, the keeper will feel he should have claimed. And then, as you said, with Patton getting the next goal, that was down to, very good run, very good play. But I think with the keeper narrowing the angle, he probably feels that, yeah, he should have saved that as well. But
Yeah,
again, it felt like there were just constant chances in that sort of opening thing. We really took it to them.
yeah, it felt clinical. I think obviously we scored the three chances and obviously missed the penalty as you said, but it did seem like every time we went forward we might create a chance. I think looking back or thinking back in my head to the run that we've been on, um, maybe even with commentators kind of saying we're constantly looking for that forward pass or that, it just seems like the momentum takes us in games. I think we can have those like 10-minute patches where it looks like every time we get the ball, we're going to score. And so happened in this one where we scored the third goal in 33 minutes. Again, the keeper might be slightly disappointed, didn't close his legs. Brody Pert, first start for the shots, slides it in between his legs. Yeah, and again, another lovely move. I mean, I'm still unsure on the offside rule because the James Henry is obviously clearly offside. The defenders start to stop because they obviously know he's offside, and then Brody Pert just runs on through to the ball that Henry was intended. It was intended for Henry.
Yeah.
Still unsure on that rule.
Well, where I sit in the South Stand had a really good view of that. Henry wasn't much further forward, but you could tell that he knew exactly what he was doing, that he had the presence of mind in terms of he basically put his hands down, stopped as if to let them run on past him. So yeah, maybe it's Scunthorpe's fault for not playing to the whistle or waiting for the flag, etc. So I think for me the rule is clear on that one, and Henry used his experience to exploit that brilliantly. Just thought, okay, I better not get involved here because otherwise, yeah, the flag will be straight up.
I think that was helped. I think in Brody Pert's post match, he said that he was screaming at JMO to leave it. I think he's screaming JMO, JMO, JMO before he was going to go for it. But I always thought the rule was if you like make a movement towards the ball or something like that. But I that may well have been outdated, but 3 years ago because it seems to change every week. I mean, don't get me
Yeah,
started on the new IFAB rules. I mean, it's sit here for hours.
yeah, it may well be some referees out there listening to this go, no, you don't know what you're on about and you're just making it up. But
It won't be the first time.
yeah, to me, it just my basic understanding is that it's yeah, just not interfering play. So if he'd maybe try to pull a defender with him or something like that. Whereas because he kind of puts his arms down and effectively stops and lets the uh, attacker go past, then I think that was why it was all okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we have the Ryan Hill makes his own chance for the penalty, gets tripped up in the box. Again, one of those moves where it just looked like shots were going to score, just running at defenders, and blazes the penalty over, but didn't luckily come back to bite us. The one thing I was going to say is a 3-0 at home meant the East Bank bar was obviously that is there for us. So we're going to go for that. Have the pint. Missed the Scunthorpe goal, which is rare. I mean, normally back in time, but this is when we got bad attendances of 1,500, and you can normally make it back in time. But 2,500, that's you're back on 50 minutes, and you just got to hope. But yeah, I was having watched it back. The Boyce Clark, the first save for it is brilliant, and then obviously gets unlucky. It falls straight back to Whitehall. But yeah, Boyce Clark did also make a couple of good saves in that first half that kept us in it. It could have been a real yo-yo game without his stops.
Yeah, there was a
And
couple of
yeah,
saves watching back that were just so good. And again, it was a bit like at Yeovil where if they had scored it had been closer, then I wouldn't say it would have been fair enough, but yeah, we did give them some chances, possibly with how much we were creating going forward.
yeah. I think that is not necessarily a concern. I think that is just the nature of having a slightly more attacking team. I mean, it's well, I guess with teams when we played Braintree away, we still gave away 3 or 4 chances. They've taken one. They had a couple of other, Boyce Clark's had to make a couple of saves in that game as well. And that was a game that was, I think, as comfortable as we could have made Braintree away. So yeah, we'll get onto that. That no goals in the first half, Braintree, despite shots being on top for the first 35 minutes. Barely gave the ball away. I'd be very surprised. Oh, I'd love to see the possession stats for that first 30 because I don't think Braintree touched the ball. And then Akinde got it once, maybe, and then he got a free kick, and then balls were being lumped in the box and throw-ins were coming in. So Braintree ended the kind of first half a little bit on top, but shots kept going, kept pressing all the same buttons, and eventually we did get the breakthrough through Sean Patton's back bum. I'm not really sure what it ended up coming off, and then Henry in the 80th minute sealed the deal with his goal. Now I'm trying to remember how his went in now. Oh yeah, it looped over the keeper. Another deflection, looped over the keeper, and then tapped it in. A strange one. I was going to shout out Mason Terry because he was almost the difference maker in that game. He made he made a brilliant double save before James Henry got the second goal, and I thought, well, he's going to be, that's the 9 out of 10 performance that stops us winning this game. But if you look at the highlights, you'll think, oh, he had a terrible game because he's made what looked like 2 gaffes, but he's so unlucky with a couple of deflections. Yeah, how did you think? How was your view of the Braintree game?
Really pleased with that one as well. That it was a different sort of win, but again, I think we dominated enough of the play to make the most of it. And absolutely, it was a game like last season. I went to Braintree away and we lost that after leading 1-0. This time, we're much better placed to be able to capitalise on that. And I think Braintree just don't have the quality really to make the most of it. Was it Lisby last year that turned the game for them? And of course, that was also quite familiar in terms of the way we were playing at the time, that we were quite vulnerable on the wing, etc. Whereas this time, there's a real sort of class apart between the two teams. So yes, we're maybe slightly fortunate in the way that the goals came, but good work from Patton in terms of he gets himself in the right place, doesn't he? Although he was quite young, and I think there were some concerns when he signed that, oh, he's not really played men's football much. Will he be up to the standard? But he's certainly strong enough and brave enough that he puts himself in the right position. And with that sort of poacher's instinct, etc., he could have a very good career ahead of him. So, yeah, I was just thrilled with Braintree because it made the gap 12 points to relegation at that point in time. We finally won a game where we were favourites for, or expected to win. So, yeah, just really, really positive signs. And it was sort of signing off that better run of fixtures before we run into this four of the top six, I think, in the next four. So it was, yeah, the perfect ending to a good run.
Absolutely, and that was 9 wins in 12 after Braintree, I believe, and our first win against Braintree since 2019. I think we only played them three times in between there, but it was a Reece Grant goal that time at Braintree. And what was else we were going to mention? That it was Jenkins' first start for shots in over a year. I think he managed about 80 odd minutes, and then he was a sub on Saturday at home to Rochdale, and then came on in the second half. So good to get some more minutes in his legs. He's looking more and more composed the more we see of him. Obviously, he's playing in a slightly, right back. I'm not sure how much he's played at right back, but if he fits the Coleman ideal for a right back, then I'm sure he won't mind. Also, obviously at Braintree you can hear everything when there's only 800 people there. Hill and Jenkins, they are chatting constantly. They are on the wind up. There was the free kick in the first half. I think it was one of their first, but Ryan Hill's just kind of getting his troops lined up and saying, "This is all they got, boys. This is all they got." I love this high level sledging. Yeah. Great. So yeah, we chatted about Sean Patton. No Sean Patton for the Rochdale game. Unfortunately, he was recalled by Reading. Ian broke the news in the group chat very early on. It's great to get a scoop um, from your Reading fan. So yeah, let's run through that Rochdale game. Rochdale win 2-0. Manny Diasaruvi scores again. That's 20 goals in the league this season for him. And I had to look it up because I feel like he actually gets more of a mention on this pod than a lot of Aldershot players. That's 9 goals in eight appearances against Aldershot, which is the most of any club that he's played against. Gateshead a second with 6. So I'm glad to confirm that because it felt like that in my head. 8. I'm surprised. Wait, was it 8 and 9 and 8? I wrote down there 9 and 8, but that doesn't seem right. Maybe it's 8 goals in 9 appearances. I think it was less than the goals, but it feels like more. And yes, the replacement for Sean Patton up top was Kwame Thomas, and I've just noted down that he kind of missed our only clear-cut chance with I'm going to have to say gilt-edged header from about 9 yards out. Yeah, what were your thoughts on the home game against Rochdale, Ian?
Yeah, good game against Rochdale. Shows how far we've come. I think early in the season, that would have been quite a heavy defeat. We had the best of the early stages. We were taking it to Rochdale, similar to Scunthorpe. And that opener from Rochdale actually comes from an Aldershot attack where we've got quite a few men forward. And then it's actually a brilliant counter-attacking move from Rochdale, I think. And they've really sort of caught us out of position on that one and get forward. And then the finish, as we said earlier, was top class to make that 1-0. And then we had sort of in the first half, we were always felt like we were knocking on the door, but we never quite had the clear-cut chance that I think Inwood put one over the bar where he'd cut in. Gandil had a bit of luck sort of getting close, but always felt like there was a Rochdale defender or two in the way. And I remember last season, Rochdale beat us 2-0 at home early season, and they looked the business then, and they look even better this time. But I was really pleased with how Aldershot competed. And although it was no points, you didn't feel too hard done by it. It was just like, okay, fair enough, Rochdale, you're a good team. We'll move on to the next one.
I mean, it's amazing what a good run does. I think to the fans' perspective. I think if we were back in, if we were down there, if we had lost to Braintree, for example, we were what 6 points off the relegation places or something. We would have gone into this thinking, oh God, I've got to win. But having the perspective, having that cushion, and knowing we're playing a top team, um, yeah, there was less expectation, I guess, from the fans. But I still think, like as you said, I think we competed really well. I think, yeah, everyone looked like they wanted to like score and go forward against a top team. I think that probably did slightly play into Rochdale's hands. Really, I think that's about as good an away performance as you could get, isn't it? I mean, you soak up any pressure that you can, but don't give up many chances to your goalkeeper. And the one time that Manny Saruvi is like just about got away from Nightingale, there's a player that plays a inch perfect pass to him and he's free. It wasn't like, I think you play other teams and that player's free 3 or 4 times, they don't find him. And the striker's like, why can't they never find me? But this time, the first time it happens, a top side will find him, and yeah, he completely sells Boyce Clark and just sticks it over the top of him, which is yeah,
Mm.
very clinical.
Yeah, I suppose there's always the what if because yeah, that Kwame chance was not long after the second half began. Get one back at that point in time, then maybe you can have another go. But yeah, I think it was comfortable for Rochdale.
Mm.
They went back top of the table briefly, didn't they? And then York would have had their own style of late show at Morecambe to go back to the top. That
Mm.
its own away performance that wins you titles. Whereas obviously the Rochdale away performance could win you titles. So it's going to be quite interesting for those two indeed.
That's very much, yes, the bit of the old school versus the new school. Yeah, we'll score more than you, or we'll not be scoring. I mean, I hope Rochdale win. I hope they do it. That's mainly because I want. Well, not that I want York in this league for much longer, but I just don't. It feels more like a proper club going up. I know York is. I can't. I'm not going to get into that now. Um, yeah, I suppose we can move on to the today as we record. We had an update from Deane and John Coleman on the season, and I guess they kind of outlined the uncertainty before they started. So yeah, I'll run through the attendance for the Scunthorpe game is 2,500, and Rochdale was 2,800 with I think it was 360 odd from Rochdale. I can read some of it out. Why not? So Dean Wood starts. He says, since becoming chairman of this wonderful football club, I've made it my objective to grab it with both hands and stabilise financially for the benefit of John, the team, and you, the supporters. Since 2026, the total loss has been over 300,000, which includes in it a number of past debts that have now been paid off. It does not include the 700 grand of debts still left to pay. This isn't sustainable to become successful, grow, and compete. Um, Obviously, yeah, then he goes on, we're working tirelessly to combat this loss. We need the help of supporters. And then he moves on to talk about the attendances, about the crowd on Saturday being a huge boost. So that's 2,800. So that was up, I guess, 300 from the a week before, was it? Um, and yes, we need higher numbers to increase the budget further to compete at the top end of this league next season. Um, yeah, Ian, thoughts, I guess, on that first bit, or just in general.
Yeah, lots of thoughts actually on this one. That yeah, we've interesting March because obviously we've got two midweek home games and then just one more Saturday home game this month. So I don't know how well the attendances will stand up. And obviously we've got Carlisle as a Tuesday night, who yeah may bring a fair following in terms of exiles, etc. But maybe that'll go down. Yeah, the numbers I think are the biggest worry in terms of the loss. That it is what I did wonder on the podcast. I think I gave a voice note back when Shahid and John Leopard stepped aside and said that I was a bit concerned about Dean Wood obviously having to commit himself further financially, that things had to get worse before they can get better, if ever. So he's obviously spent a lot more money to shore things up, to pay some of the bills that perhaps had not been paid. So yeah, I do worry about that he's in quite deep here. So we have to be for sure doing what we can in turning up as much as we can. Um, Certainly helps the good run, but I worry about the fixtures coming up, that maybe for some people that's going to be difficult for them to attend much more than they have. My feeling is, can we just try and get to the summer, and then this would be the time for me to really try and push the season tickets. Um, I was so dismayed and frustrated last year that we didn't try to kick on from Wembley with some sort of attractive, competitive offer on the season ticket to try and encourage lapsed fans to return. This is the year that we're going to have to try something like that. And then if that raises enough cash to give Coleman a competitive budget for next season, we'll be okay. But at the same time, I don't see a way that Dean can get his money back. And it's just about being able to try and find that budget that allows Coleman to get us into the top half of the table.
Yeah, it's a lot of that. Yeah, you've got the game coming up that obviously I'm thinking, yeah, obviously the Carlisle one aside, yeah, York should be a nice inflated attendance, but I think after that, I can't think of I can't think of any home match that's going to be over 3,000, for example. Um, and obviously the season, even if we are on a barnstorming run of form, like it is going to dwindle by the end because we're not got anything to fight for. We're not fighting for playoffs um, or shouldn't be scraping relegation by the end. Um, so yeah, I was definitely worried when it came through. I'm also worried if our total loss so far in 2026 is 300 grand. That's in 2 months? That's 150 grand a month, including the
Yeah,
debt.
unless that is the season, it is possible that it's the whole season, and hopefully it is that rather than just January and February alone.
Yeah,
Um,
that would be incredibly concerning. But I'm hoping, I wasn't sure because it says total loss, so maybe I don't know what percent. We don't know what percentage of that is the debts that are already been paid off. So it's a little bit tricky to know.
yeah, because obviously it was, John and Shahid had effectively wiped out anything that they were perhaps owed. Dean, I think's obviously retained something that he's owed, and then yeah, some of this can be operating loss that in January, of course, I think we only had two home games in January. Was it one postponed that should have been a Saturday, but then that got moved to the following Saturday?
Mm.
Yes, it's really hard to say. There's been obviously coming and going of player turnover. So, yeah, some people have left the club, but then have the people that have come in cost a bit more? Has there been some signing on fees, things like that? Because yes, we lost Ryan Jones and some of the lesser paid squad members go out, but I wouldn't be that surprised if there was a bit of if that's cost us a bit more.
It's going to be interesting to see. Yeah. So, but in both, we'll move on to the Coleman side of that update as well, which it goes over a similar point, but I'll read out the first few. Since joining Aldershot at the beginning of November, I've been made so welcome and have developed a a strong affection for the club. I signed a 2.5 year contract that is due to be reviewed at the end of the season. Following meetings with Deane, where we have been open and honest with each other, it is clear that we agree on most things. We have a wonderful fan base, but unfortunately not enough numbers at home to facilitate a competitive budget for next season. It is unfair to expect individuals to fund significant losses, particularly in Deane's case, where he's been doing it for the past few years. Priorities: secure the National League football for next year and tie down the players we need next year to compete. So, yeah, I mean, obviously the good thing to pick away from that is there is an eye looking at being competitive next year, which obviously will satiate the inner Aldershot Town fan that absolutely needs to be forward thinking and looking towards the Football League. There's the other side of it that is like, well, if we haven't got the home support to do that, like, what is the plan? Is there going to be a plan? Um, and hopefully that obviously at this point, hopefully it's with John Coleman as well. At this point, I think he's done brilliantly. I think he's doing it without an assistant manager, right? So I don't know what the plan is there. Do we get did he get one in, or is he just going to say, well, let's stick it in the player budget? So lots of uncertainties. I actually feel like obviously I love that we're getting updates. That's I mean something that we bemoaned for a long time under Shahid. It was all kept under wraps, whereas this is very open. Yeah. So how are you feeling about the John Coleman update there?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Yeah, because there'd been various people on other forums, etc., that had said, "Oh, John Coleman doesn't like to work with a contract," and that seems strange. And then it's come out that he's got 2.5 year contract, which that's pretty long, isn't it? That if things don't go well, that could be quite expensive to get out of. So I wonder when that was signed. Was that signed when he arrived, or was that signed perhaps more recently when things have started to improve? So that's interesting himself. Obviously, for me, he's very experienced, doing a good job, and yeah, my early concerns about him have been proven wrong. So I'm pleased about that. And obviously, for years at Accrington, he did, perform wonders with a relatively small budget in terms of they don't get very big crowds up at Accrington. And I think the owner was putting in quite a bit. Whereas here we've got more of a fan base and more of better attendances, but we probably haven't got Deane that's going to be able to put in as much. And I'm okay with that because ultimately, if he hasn't got it, he hasn't got it. So I don't want to see us, in a position where, 2013 we relied on one person too heavily. So yeah, I just hope that being public and being honest about this that um, gives that boost that people think, yeah, I will turn up. I'm not doing anything this Saturday or Tuesday night. I'm going to go along. I know there's a number of people that they're just happy that Shahid's not in charge, so we'll give Deane and John the benefit of the doubt. So I think that sort of boost of goodwill, honeymoon period also helps. But for me, the only real way to do something changing is go really aggressive on some sort of early bird season ticket offer. The last year it was basically Easter time. Oh, it's going up 50 quid next year. We need this, cheers. Whereas I think I'd possibly go the other way of discount for early, that 2-3 weeks immediately after the season, have another stage and then just really push it as hard as possible. I think that would be the way to go with it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, any ideas that people have, send them in to me or send them into to Deane. I'm sure he'll be all ears to hear about those. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, 2.5 year contract is both weird for both us and John Coleman. I think, considering the position we're in. what does that suggest? That he was going to come down to the National League South with us because that's where we were headed, or was he confident he was going to keep us up and take us to the Football League? It's all ifs, buts, and maybes.